Well, hey, how you folks doing? Coming to you from the beautiful state of Vermont, Green Mountain State. It's mid-May, very early in the morning. Just drove up here, got up at 4 in the morning to be here. Gonna be doing a few stops in around. And this is one that I would have loved to talk about last year. I've been here. Unfortunately, the video footage is notoriously bad quality. Without further ado, this is Cypripedium Arietinum. This is the ram's head lady slipper, probably the rarest species of lady slipper we get here in New England. You know, you get your 4 species: you get your Cypripedium acaule, your pink lady slipper, Cypripedium reginae, the showy lady slipper, and Cypripedium parviflorum, which we will go look at in a second here, all occurring within the confines of New England, with Cypripedium candidum occurring just to the west of us. You know, very rare in New York State. But Cypripedium Arietinum is the smallest of the 4 we get in New England. You know, blooms now in line with 3 of the 4 species. Reginae blooms a bit later. And, let's talk a little bit about the flower morphology. Obviously, you've got your notable pouch labellum, as you do with pretty much all Cypripedium, striking red and white color to it. Down on the inside of your column, 2 anthers on the side, and that staminode in front. Up top here, 1 of the sepals. And unlike the other 3 species in New England, you'll note a petal and a sepal on each side. The other 3 species, the 2 lateral sepals would actually be fused together. And then a nice bract hiding the ovary, the fruit. That's the fruit there. And I'll show you what one of the spent ones from last year looks like. Unlike Cypripedium acaule, the pink lady slipper that most of you have probably seen at least once, Cypripedium Arietinum, just like the rest of the species in New England, actually has cauline leaves going down the base. Cypripedium acaule just has those nice 2 basal leaves. So a nice little colony of them growing here. You get this historically. I get try to get a good focus there. Historically, they're too small to all get in. Historically, you get it in Massachusetts. It's present in New Hampshire and most of the northern New England states, Vermont being probably the most notable. Grows in a fascinating little habitat here. And I'm going to take a pause real quick, scoot over to the side. I'll show you the one with the old with the spent fruit from last year, because it's fascinating to actually see. So I'll pause it right here. Okay, and here you go. Here's one in focus with the ghostly spent fruit from last year up there on the top right. So that ovary that I showed you in that previous shot there, that's going to mature into a little semi-woody capsule, and it's going to produce a little, innumerable tiny little dust-like seeds, as orchids do, and hopefully lead to some spreading of the colony here. And what a handsome and abundant colony of Cypripedium Arietinum it is indeed. Great species. I mean, it's beautiful in its own right. I like the fact that it's kind of tiny. Oh, here's our fruit that's not quite as ghastly. There's a good fruit from last year. They look like they don't look like anything special. Just little pods. Really fascinating. This species suffers heavily from habitat degradation. Was collected damn near to extinction, just like Cypripedium reginae has been in some regions of Massachusetts. But here in Vermont, it still has somewhat of a stronghold. Obviously, you can't get too specific about the county, just the stakes. I mean, if you're going to see this, central New Hampshire, you've got some populations. I've never been to them. And then Vermont is really like the stronghold for it in the Northeast. I think this one becomes a little bit more abundant as one would move west to the Great Lakes regions. I can put up the actual population up. I do not believe this extends its range down south into Appalachia like the yellow lady slipper can do and like the pink lady slipper can do. Rather, it's a rather restricted, Northeast Great Lakes species. So, I'll show you some of the species co-occurring with it. Happy to finally get it on video, not like shaky camera, not terrible lighting. I'm not rushed. This time last year, this was my good luck charm, because I basically found out that I was going to be able to purchase and close on my house pretty soon after it. I'm also getting a ton of B-roll that I can of course do voiceover for, because I'm going to put together like a whole little long format video just about Cypripedium, the genus, as it occurs in New England. So Cypripedium arietinum, another victim of habitat degradation, habitat loss, yet another plant you can't just move, can't propagate it. You got to make do with what what relictual populations we have. Fortunately, this one and the ones in the surrounding area seem to be some of the most stable, abundant, and healthy populations of it. Just talking to somebody who lives around the corner from here, they're seeing virtually no loss of it from year to year, which is great to hear. So anyway, that's enough babbling about that. I will be making these probably brief just because I'm with compatriots. I don't know what I was trying to say there. Yeah, beautiful fragrance to this too. Smells like very faintly of molasses, but one of my favorites. Happy to see it again, even though I haven't, not a new location for it, but just always happy to see it again. Talk about some of the co-occurring species here real quick, and then we'll go look at Cypripedium parviflorum as well. Yeah, you have no trouble, the mosquitoes are really bad here, you have no trouble seeing this in Massachusetts, especially Western Mass, but that's a Zizia aria. That's a golden Alexander's, inhabitant of these lush deciduous woodlands, road edges. Generally going to see it more in the western half of New England, but not necessarily rare or restricted like some of these other plants are. Family is Apiaceae. Should be obvious to anybody familiar with the family who's ever grown carrots, parsley, cilantro, whatever. You're going to have an umbel of flowers there, typically white on most of the species. Your heavily divided compound foliage on the thing. Get some nice Polygonatum pubescens, and then we'll did a little jump cut there. That's a Calcareous spectabilis. That's another orchid. A different subfamily than Cypripedium. Cypripedium is in Cypripedioideae, the lady slipper subfamily. These are in Orchidoideae, the terrestrial orchid subfamily, and indeed they are. Big-leaved terrestrial orchids. Quite beautiful. I can get these elsewhere in New England. Labellums hanging down. All the reproductive structures crammed up in there in the top. And there's a nice nectar spur down the back. Leafy thing. Also still technically, if you pay attention, really pay attention to the morphology here, still has the bracts subtending the ovaries, as so many orchids do. Orchidoideae does that. Epidendroids, it starts to become a little bit more sporadic, but I almost always see that on the basal orchid lineages. So, I don't know about Apistacioideae, I'd have to go out to like Queensland, Australia to see those. But yeah, the New England orchids, the ones I'm familiar with, four of the what you call them there, 5 subfamilies all occur here, and most of them do some sort of cool bract technology, for lack of a better term. Yeah, these ones are a little bit further along. You can get a white morph of these too. Hang on, let me see if I can get the zoom a little better there. You get a white morph of these as well. That's supposed to be around here. I haven't seen it though. These are still just getting started though. So, Calcareous spectabilis is another. There's 3 orchids that all occur right here. Possibly 4, but 3 that are in bloom right now. And we'll go see if we can get some good shots of a Cypripedium parviflorum for a beautiful, mixed deciduous hardwood forest here. You've got your hemlock, you've got your beech, birches. That'd be absolutely divine to be in. Feels good to be here. Feels good to look at the plants. If the mosquitoes weren't atrocious, this would be a 10 out of 10 experience. But unfortunately, mosquitoes are actually quite pervasive and really fucking annoying. So, Calcareous spectabilis, an orchid not closely related to Cypripedium parviflorum or arietinum, but still one worth pointing out there. Oh, that's nice. Huge swath of Adiantum pedatum, which I was calling palmatum. It is pedatum, the northern maidenhair fern. In the family Pteridaceae, again, one you don't have to come all the way here to see, but certainly one that is always an indicator of a good or at least interesting habitats, in my opinion. Lining both sides of the road here, and I remember this from last year, seeing this growing abundantly with Cypripedium parviflorum. I've seen this grow at a number of some of my favorite sites. Look at that. Just look at the architecture to those fronds. How nice is that? Oh god, the mosquitoes in my eye. Beautiful fern, one of my favorites. Terradacea with the P, Terradacea. Okay, so this guy's they're not quite ready yet, the yellow lady slippers, but that's okay. This one's almost ready. Just enough to kind of get the gist. So, first thing you'll notice about this is just like Cypripedium arietinum. It's got the calling leaves, nice and leafy. You know, same can't be said for Cypripedium acaule. Still got that nice bract up above. Dark sepals, however, unlike Cypripedium arietinum, this bottom sepal here is fused. So that's the two lateral sepals that Cypripedium arietinum have you know, fused in most of the other Cypripedium species. These curly doodads, these are the petals. And here's that dorsal sepal. Peel that dorsal sepal back, and then you can get, you know, you get an idea of what the anatomy looks like. Same thing going on here. Two stamens on either side of that column, ovary in the back, staminode in the front, and a pouch that, unlike the famous pink lady slipper, Cypripedium acaule, is not cleft, just the single hole at the top. So the pollination, the pollination strategy of these is actually, you're gonna have a bug go in there, get trapped for a moment, buzz around, get stuck, get completely dusty with pollen, and then fly back out and hopefully do the same thing to another one. I don't know specifically about all the Cypripedium species, but Cypripedium acaule, the bumblebees figure out that trick pretty quickly. So I guess it's not often that these you know, get pollinated. I'll give you the side profile there. Yeah, there's that ovary right here, center frame. Beautiful, beautiful appearance to the thing. So this guy's just getting started. It's going to be tricky to get some of the static footage, but I can always, you know, come back. I love the venation on the leaves. Here's a nice huge patch of them. Just I mean, these are beautiful even in bud. You really have to admit. Oh, there's the vernal pool the mosquitoes are coming from, right next to us. Nice seep here, actually. Some calcareous up in this woods too, but I mean, I guess we're a little bit ahead of schedule, but that's okay. Still get good pictures of the thing, and getting it in bud is actually going to be useful for you know, useful for the type of content that I would like to produce here. So honestly, I'm not sure how long of a video that's going to be, but even if that's a 10-15 minute long video, I think that's good enough. This is nice and juicy, showy stuff, and I don't want to be too much of a burden on the folks. So you get 3 subspecies of this. I'll just add Macacin, Cypripedium parviflorum, Cypripedium parviflorum, Cypripedium parviflorum, Macacin, and Cypripedium parviflorum pubescens. This is Macacin. I'll put down below what the, you know, defining characteristics are. And if you're wondering, you're like, okay, so I've seen pink lady slipper, but I haven't seen any of these other ones. Why is that? Pink lady slipper, you would not see these habitats. They like it acidic, they like it sandy, they like it kind of dry even. And the remainder of these species are at least partially, you know, calciphiles. They like it calcareous, they like that pH high, and they like it damp. They like wet feet, especially Cypripedium reginae. So the 2 we just looked at are forest species, calcareous, open woodland species, and the you know, the acaule is the odd one out. But the caveat of that is that acaule occurs, you know, closer to, you know, areas of human habitation. So that's why, you know, people are seeing it most often. It's also, you know, very abundant in those habitats, whereas these, even in the right type of habitat, can be somewhat more sporadic. So anyway, hopefully you got something out of that quick remake of something that just came out not that great last year. Chose to just redo it for you rather than put out some subpar content. 2 really cool species of Cypripedium, calcareous, and some of the associated habitat. Very quick. And there's that vernal pool. So this groundwater here, calcareous groundwater, high pH groundwater. I think that's the type of stuff they try to sell you in bottles. What is that, alkaline water? Or would that be alkali water? I forget which is which. One's calcareous, one's acidic. I prefer high and low pH because that's just much more, obvious what you're talking about. All right, we're going to cut it off there. I'm getting eaten alive by mosquitoes. Have a fantastic day. Yeah, I just couldn't resist getting one more good shot. I'm going to use this as B-roll too, so it'll serve me a use one way or the other, but really just nice, beautiful shot, like a golden sun, like a little ball. You post pictures of these things and people are like, oh, orchis, you know what that means, testicle, right? And I'm like, yeah, that's referring to their roots, to their pseudobulbs, not to the Cypripedium. This is a minority amongst orchids, this lady slipper form factor. Not many of them have that. It's kind of unique to it. So yeah, we've got, again, I'm just lifting this up just because this could be useful for the anatomical features of them. The sepals, the way that they twist, they really are just an absurdly beautiful plant. FYI, on most orchids, that staminode there, that little thing in the center, that would actually be the fertile pollinia. Pollinia are what most orchids are using to, basically be their pollen. It's a little sticky sack of pollen, and most of them just have the one. Cypripedium, and I believe it might just be Cypripedioides has 2, apostasioids have 3, and then vanilloids, epidendroids, orchidoids all have the 1. So he did a flip-flop. It's what would typically be staminodes are his fertile anthers, and what would typically be fertile anthers, the staminode. That staminode plays a function in the pollination too, because that's what actually allows the the pollinator to escape with the pollen there. So in any case, I think that really should suffice. I'll have to see if I can find another population of these. I know a few that are around, or if I have to wait another year to put the video out, so be it. But I'll be back in the state in June, hopefully, to get some other stuff. Cypripedium parviform, everybody. I almost think in some ways that this is in many regions of the more common species. If you've got like a calcareous lithology to your soil. But here in New England, these are special to see. Still extant in Massachusetts too, unlike Arietinum. So, Cypripedium parviform variety Macassin. I won't get it down super to variety. I'll mention them in the whole Cypripedium video I'm going to do. But for this, I think that's sufficient. Take it easy, my friend. God, sorry. Just had to get one last shot of Cypripedium Arietinum here. I'll also use this as B-roll. People really do think that the pink lady slipper is like this super rare thing, but they've never even heard of, the other 3 species in New England, never mind, the 60 some odd other species of orchid we have here. It's a bummer. It's a bummer. Gotta educate yourself. Gotta watch more of my videos. In fact, you should subscribe right now if you haven't. Just kidding, I don't care. I do. I like the fact that, let me put it to you this way, it is a metric of the fact that people care. Doesn't, go subscribe to New England Forests. He runs a much bigger, probably better run channel. Actually, it's a recommend. Tom Wessel's New England Forest, great channel. Longer format videos, more in the style of what I want to get into, but I mean, this is the stuff that people say they like. I put up something different and people are like, oh my god, you're changing your format. No, I just like to, do some other stuff sometimes. In any case, Cypripedium Arietinum for the last time. Thank you, folks. Have a wonderful evening. Good night.